Coming up today on Locked On Canucks, guess what? The Vancouver Canucks are over the salary cap again, but just how bad is it? We're going to get into that. And also, Jared McCann says the Canucks gave up on him. Well, guess what? We're not going to give up on you, the people. You're listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggsy, Canucks writer and part-time credential media member for Daily Hive, Vancouver. You know what? Everything I'm doing in my life right now is part-time because I'm on parental leave, baby. Let's go.
Wow, 2023, baby. 2023, baby.
Let's go. And before we get into it, I got to let you know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. And before we dive into the show, we want to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. And I got to say, shout out to the people. We are nothing without you. Love the momentum right now. Obviously it was a busy time with free agency and the draft and all that. But I think we've had 4 straight episodes, Kyle, of over 1,000 views. So just nothing but love for the people. Nothing but love for you listening right now. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Give it a like. Leave us a comment. We might even read it on Comment Corner. Speaking of Comment Corner, the guy who loves Comment Corner even more than I do, Kyle Bhawan. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going? It's going well. Thanks for asking. One love to the people. And if you want to know the inside deets, the inside information about Beggsy and Kyle Bhawan behind the scenes, Locked On Canucks, Trevor's been gassing us up for so long. He always wants to celebrate early. This guy's like, yo, let's go to Mexico for a week. We deserve it. Let's go shoot a week's worth of podcasts out in Mexico for hitting 600 subscribers. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Come on, bro. One step at a time, baby. One step at a time. And yeah, just super, super appreciative of anyone who's watching this. And even if you're not watching this, but you're a Canuck fan, we're sending you a lot of love. To Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks, Comment Corner at the end of the show. But we got to start things off with the numbers, right? Capped out. I think it's pretty obvious. When you're always capped out and then you spend money, you're always going to be capped out again. Tanner Pearson, possibly, most likely, going to be there at training camp. LTIR, not going to be the case for him. How are the Canucks gonna do this? And it becomes mission impossible if they don't trade a winger, right?
Yeah, you know what? I got a picture from my daughter's daycare today. We get pictures in terms of what they're doing at daycare, and today they were coloring on the letter F. So I got a word of the day here because it applies to Canucks. Finagle. Canucks are gonna have to do some finagling to fix that cap situation. Because right now I think we got to take the Canucks at their word that Tanner Pearson is going to be there for camp and he will not be on LTIR. Allvin sounded pretty confident that Pearson was going to be there. Didn't sound so confident about Tucker Poolman being there, and just one love to Tucker Poolman. Hope he can find a good life and not be dealing with concussions and migraines. But in terms of Pearson, I was kind of flabbergasted when Allvin first said that Tanner Pearson was going to return, because again, I've said it before on this show. Shout out to the everydayers. They know this. I was at the Canucks season-ending media availability. I sat 4 feet from Tanner Pearson. When I looked at his hand, I was shocked. It's like purple. It's in this cast. There's like a scar on it. I don't know. It just, his hand was not looking good. And that was, 5+ months after his initial surgery. Reports are now that he's had 7 different operations on this hand. So, I hope he comes back, but, I'm skeptical until it happens. In terms of the Canucks cap situation, right now on CapFriendly, they are $2.48 million over the cap. I'm going to try to talk about LTIR quickly here without totally nerding out or boring you, the listener. But there's basically 2 things you can do with LTIR heading into the season. The ideal thing to do is what the Canucks did last year. And you want to get as close to the salary cap as possible on opening night, so that when opening night happens, you put your guys on LTIR and you can maximize your cap room. So let's say the Canucks, again, last season, let's say they just put Bhawan on LTIR to start the season. I can't remember if there was someone else or not at this point. Oh, Ferland, obviously. So it was Ferland, right? $3.5 million. They got exactly to the absolute maximum of the cap, $82,500,000. It was the first team in NHL history to apparently do that. So they were able to utilize all of Michael Ferland's $3.5 million of cap space as LTIR. They're allowed to exceed the cap by $3.5 million. say they came within $500,000 of the cap, they would have only been able to utilize $3 million of that. Now you can start the season over the cap with players on LTIR, but the calculation's a bit different. And the salary cap actually, we all look at it in terms of like an annual thing. It actually accrues on a daily basis. So there's a chance that if you're over the cap and you put a player on LTIR, you might have to make a trade or a move later on in the season to open up some cap space because, you might be over that daily total by the end of the season.
Oh
So
my
I don't know.
God,
Am I
dude.
nerding out too hard here, Kyle?
Of course, man. My head hurts, man. Okay, they're in cap hell. We get it. We get it. Again, another curveball with Tanner Pearson possibly showing up. And it goes back to my question, right? It seems as if this is mission impossible unless they trade Beauvillier, Besser, or Garland. Okay.
If they want it, go ahead.
I, no, I was going to end with a point that's somewhat irrelevant, but a part of me also wants to see one of those players leave. So the organization is kind of not forced, but more inclined to include Höglander or Podkolzin in their plans for next season. I think it's just so important to have those guys play pivotal roles and make the money that they'll be making playing pivotal roles for this organization to move forward. And yeah, it's a two-way street for me. Like Besser, Garland, or Beauvillier, one of them got to go. We got to save some money, and we got to get these guys more involved in top 9 roles for this team.
Yeah, so I think to your first point, they got to trade a winger. I mean, the answer is probably especially if they want to add someone. But right now, they could be under the cap for next season and not have to trade a winger. So I'm going to block out our beautiful faces for the YouTube listeners and bring up this graphic. I was working on this for Daily Hive. So basically, this is as close to the cap max as I could get for next season. So I basically have the Canucks within $3,333 of the cap limit for next year. So not quite the perfect cap they have, but pretty damn close in terms of maximizing that LTIR space. Again, if you go to CapFriendly right now, they are $2.48 million over the cap. So how I got here, if you look at CapFriendly right now, Sheldon Dries and Jack Studnicka are still on the NHL roster. So I think those guys are two guys you can easily send down in the minors. You can send out a DJ Steppy too, I guess. But those are the two guys I chose. And then from there, Niels Amont and Vasily Podkolzin, you could paper them down to the minors because they're waiver exempt right now. So that gets the Canucks under the cap. And I actually put some defenders who are making a bit above league minimum in order to get to this, $3,333. So I have Akito Hirose and Jack Rathbun on the team. Now, there are some cheaper options like Willanen and Breezewell making a little bit less. But that's what I ended up going with here. Again, I have Spencer Martin as backup. He's making about $25,000 less than Silovs. So they have to be some more finagly if they want Silovs here instead of Martin. But yeah,
Okay.
at the end, there's lots of Canucks. Okay, go for it.
I got questions. Sorry, I'm just looking at a bunch of things, and this is what they would have to present to the league prior to playing their first game, or do they don't have to actually ice this lineup, right? This is just like
100%. Yeah.
Stuff.
So like last season, part of the reason they got to the perfect cap in terms of maximizing the space is they had Danila Klimovich on the opening night roster. And Danila Klimovich obviously wasn't going to play any NHL games. It was just a paper transaction. So, yeah, you could ice that. Like, obviously, the Canucks right there in that roster have 20 skaters, right? It's a bare minimum roster. There's 11 forwards there. So, yeah, no, it doesn't have to be. You have to have a minimum of 20 players there, but it does not have to be your opening night lineup.
I'm so confused.
That actually has 21. Yeah, it's a bit of cap. This is a bit of cap nerding out here, but one thing I will say is I didn't have Nils Höglander on there, but I think here's what my prediction for Nils Höglander's contract. Actually, I think he's going to get below that waiver threshold of $1.15 million. I know AFP Analytics had his contract at $1.3 million. I actually see him. This might sound like a weird comparison, but I see Nils Höglander signing something similar to what Blake Wheeler did. And I know you're probably going to go, WTF, Beggsy? What the hell? But I see it like this. Blake Wheeler signed for $800,000 with $300,000 in bonuses, right? So he can make up to $1.1 million next season. I can see something very similar happening for Höglander. I think he's going to sign under that $1.1 million mark in terms of actual salary, and they might add some bonuses onto his contract as well.
Wow, dude. Trevor Beggs just on fire, getting the numbers down pat, making acquisitions, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Again, Trevor Beggs, Kyle, Bhawan. All this cap hell is also making me think again of the Pettersson contract. And I thought about it some more today, and there has to be a small chance that you are right. and I hate to put this out there, but he decides to really negotiate this thing slash get to pen to paper sometimes toward like the end of next season. And that's because of maybe, I don't know, maybe he's enjoying the summer and the Canucks being a little bit of cap hell, even though they have some players coming off their book next season. But it more has to do with Pettersson understanding that if he waits a bit longer, then he'll know the exact amount in which the cap raises, you know? There'll be
Yeah.
more concrete evidence and he can adjust his negotiations for that. Gonna ask you now, let us know in the comments below on July 5th, 2023. If you were to sign today, what's that contract looking like?
Yeah, with a cap of again, is the assumption that it's going to be 87.5 million next year, because I think it's easy to throw out 11 million bucks. I think that's kind of what we're looking at here for
Mhm.
Pettersson, like somewhere in that 10 to 11 million dollar range. I would say probably closer to 11.
Yeah.
But if you're projecting a cap of 87.5 million, then I think it's going to be 11 and a half plus.
Whoa.
So I remember, before, this is going to sound weird, before COVID hit, I think Pettersson was, a year and a half into his NHL career. And at that time, he was putting up similar numbers to like Crosby and Ovechkin in terms of points per game and all that stuff. So I remember projecting his contract back in like 2019. And I think I had him at like 13 million if he continued on that trajectory. But the cap was at like 91 million because it was just going to go up incrementally.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah. So for 13 million at 91, 92 million, I kind of see him as like 11 and a half, 12 if the cap's at 87 and a half million. And
Yeah.
that's if he maybe 11 and a half if he's signing this summer, but who knows, man? Who knows what we could do next season as well? I mean, it's and what doesn't matter. Canucks don't have to back up the Brinks trucks for him. He's he's the franchise player right now. So
Oh, of course. He can really get whatever he wants with a lot of reason. I do think there's going to be a chance that uh, Allvin, Rutherford, Tocchet, the culture, some success has him thinking long term and about just that, even more success. And he takes maybe $500,000 less, maybe 750 less. And I was thinking about this again today as well. A lot on the mind when talking money in the Vancouver Canucks. I was thinking about the time in our lives where Henrik and Daniel were what? Did they get to July 1st? Didn't they get to July 1st?
they
Am I
did,
tripping?
yeah. Okay, I
They got to
remember
July
this.
1st,
Yeah, I
and
remember this.
I feel like
Yeah,
they took money off. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like the Canucks saved some money there. Gillis got the job done. And at the time, I'm a young chap, 18, 19. Oh, no, what? No, younger than that, right? Maybe I don't even know what the age was, right? And I'm like, obviously, it's only $500,000. It's only a million, like whatever, just saving that much. Like it's not that big of a deal. Then I get older. I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of money to just be like, yeah, don't worry, I'll be
yeah.
loyal. $1 million a year, saving that off a deal. Now, can the Canucks do that with Pettersson? Like save $1 million on this deal that's going to happen in the future? I don't think they can do it right now. So maybe is it in their best interest to maybe even like prove their concept before they start negotiations? Because there's no proof in the pudding now. If the Canucks go to Patterson and say, hey, you know what? Like you're worth this much. You deserve this much. You deserve the blank check, but you understand that we can't build a contender unless you take a cut. Like Patterson can't really believe what they're pitching when they say that
Yeah.
because a lot of things, man. Negotiation. I got a book on negotiation and I haven't finished it yet nor started it yet. And maybe that's because I'm just not reading the right books. That Rick Rubin book that I got right now, a bit too hippie for me right now. Nonetheless,
All
Locked On
right, all
Canucks,
right.
Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, talking way too much. We got to get to break. Beggsy, what do we got on the other side? And who we shouting out?
Yeah. So on the other side, I do want to talk about that Jared McCann interview on a podcast with Luke Gazdick. Shout out to Luke Gazdick. I think he already,
Mitts off. That's the
Mitts off.
podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. All right. So we're going
No
to talk
problem.
about that on the other side about how, the Canucks basically, they ruined Jared McCann for a short time, according to Jared McCann. But first, I got to tell you, take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting on everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. It's Shohei Ohtani, isn't it? Hey, do it all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Okay, we're back. Locked on Canucks, your team every day. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor, Beggs. It's Wednesday. Beggsy, you're really groovy, dude. Yesterday, coming on the show with no shirt on. And there was one person in the live stream / premiere of the video that said it was a Bush League move, Trevor Beggs. And I was trying to defend you, right? Like, people don't believe me when I say you are actually a nudist.
Yeah, it's true.
And
But
a hippie. I throw that out there a lot. Like Trevor Beggs, you're the hippie here. You're doing things right. One love, generation, peace and love, a disconnect to connect, family first, blah, blah, blah. And I throw the word out hippie a lot. It's not me taking a jab / throwing titles that don't make sense. I'm just having fun. I'm characterizing here. No, it's the truth. Trevor Beggs is actually a hippie. I went to a house party that Trevor Beggs was hosting when he was a little bit younger. Okay, he's turning 30 soon. He was a little bit younger, maybe 27, 26. At his house party, he had this corner set up on his balcony that was surrounded by these carpets / mats / I don't even know what they were.
Yeah.
And it was all hippie stuff.
Chairs.
Yeah, like the patterns were just psychedelic, and they were. I can't even explain what it was, but it was very, very Trevor Beggs. So Bush League or not, you're being yourself, and I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that. I'm actually recording in that same space right now. The hippie tent is done and gone. The weather kind of wrecked it. It wasn't the most weatherproof little area, but in terms of you not wearing a shirt, it's love it or hate me, go Canucks go. No, seriously, love me or hate me, I don't really care. I swear I can't do that. It's hot out. It's summer. I'm a sweaty guy. So yeah, and I don't like wearing a shirt. So it is what it is,
man.
But I also don't want to be known. I don't want to be known as the guy that doesn't that never wears a shirt. So I'm gonna shake it up. Sometimes be a shirt, sometimes be no shirt. Dude, and actually, yesterday, you want to know why I wasn't wearing my shirt? Because my baby boy fell asleep and I couldn't find his blanket, so I gave him my shirt. Okay, so suck on that, haters.
That was the most beautiful story ever, man, and I believe it because Trevor never lies. And you could have probably gone back in the room to grab a shirt, but you didn't want to wake up your son. So you know what? Yeah. Let it be. Let it be. And again, sex sells, and Trevor's trying to be the DILF around here, okay? For real. Anyways, Locked on Canucks, your team every day. Jared McCann, no longer a Canuck. Obviously, that happened years ago. I was driving home from a coaching experience at White Rock, ironically, where Trevor Beggs is currently at. And I was driving home, and I hear the report on the news, right? McCann for Goodbranson and picks, blah, blah, blah. Or McCann and picks for Goodbranson. And I was so choked. I was so choked. Because you could see it. You could see a couple things early. Although he didn't have the greatest rookie year with the Vancouver Canucks, he was 19 years old, blah, blah, blah. You could see that he was by far and away the better prospect to keep over Jake Virtanen right away.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I know that. Yeah. Anyways, carry on. I'm going to start swearing and just let me calm down before I go in, okay?
Yeah, no worries. I think, one of the things I wanted to bring up from the Mitts Off podcast, when McCann was speaking about the Vancouver Canucks.
Did it just not work out in Van, or were you not mentally ready for the NHL at the time? But like, you've had some time to look back on it now.
Yeah. No, I personally think that, I could have used a year in the AHL. I really do. Mentally, I think it would have helped me. Physically, it would have helped me. I was 172 pounds playing the NHL as a 19-year-old. You get tossed around pretty easy. Some big D-man, yeah. I'll never forget. I think Lars hit me. Adam Larson, when he was playing for Jersey, hit me behind the net. It's probably on YouTube. You can find it, but just knocked the wind right out of me. I was just dying on the ice. And I'm very thankful for obviously everything that I've been through as a player. I think they did give up on me early. I really do. Mentally, it affected me a lot. I was in a dark place for, it's like, as a young player, you just want to play and get an opportunity to play in the NHL. It's a dream, right? And then get traded after your first year of, getting a, obviously decent opportunity. So it was tough.
I think his quote was, I feel like they gave up on me. And then he went on to say that he was in a dark place for a long time because of it, which is really telling, because I think in this market, he gets traded. There's the report that Andre Pedant said he was the lonely star and like didn't get along with guys in the dressing room. Like all this man gossip,
Oh
you know.
my God. Are
Um,
you gonna make me swear on this episode, bro? I'm on a streak right now. Did the Canucks really trade this guy because Andre Pedant said something and Matt Barkowski's mom said something? We're talking about ninth defenseman on like bottom dwelling NHL teams. Like you know what I'm saying? Did we get? I
yeah,
know the Sedins had maybe a little bit to do with it too by like them calling out the performance from the rookies / the work ethic from the younger players and all that stuff. Maybe they had like a 5% chance of getting Benning to pick one of these prospects to trade immediately for Erica Branson. But again, Matt Barkowski's mom and Andre Padan. Come on, these guys were co-signing on getting rid of Jeremy. Get out of here, dude. Anyways,
yeah.
continue.
Yeah, I know whether that's true or not is crazy, but you know, obviously the Canucks made a mistake, and so back when Benning got canned in December 2021, I wrote an article for Daily Hive ranking all his biggest moves from best to worst, and obviously the worst list is a lot longer than the best list, but the worst move I had was the McCann for Goodbranson trade. Now, I think as time's gone on, I mean, in December 2021, the OEL Garland trade was only a couple of months fresh. And those guys have gone off to okay starts in their Canucks career. But now that OEL's been bought out and things are a bit different, I wanted to ask you, Kyle, what was the worst move by Jim Benning? Was it the McCann Branson trade or was the OEL Garland trade?
Okay, man, I'm living in the moment. You know the deal. You can only get so emotional about this Jared McCann podcast clip, and I've already done so. Okay, again, I'm living in the moment. It's obviously the OEL trade because we're living with it, and now we're going to deal with it for years and years and years. And yeah, we're going to deal with the good Branson philosophy and bringing that over and what that did for our trajectory. And we're going to deal with seeing Jared McCann score a ton of goals, blah, blah, blah. The trauma's going to hurt. But when it comes to like how this hockey team is orchestrated right now, put together, and what's actually affecting it, it's the OEL trade. So it's going to hurt because it's still stabbing us like physically and theoretically and metaphorically. It's still going to hurt us. And at the time, it made none of these trades made sense, but everyone could kind of tell that was just way too big of a swing, with a player that's pretty obvious. The scouts on the Vancouver Canucks and Jim Benning barely watched OEL play that season because the data cards, those flashcards that I did not care about. I'm not a fancy stat dude. I wasn't a fancy stat dude back then, I didn't really care for that too much, but I remember back when that trade was happening, I never saw a player get crucified that much. Am I allowed to say that? Do I have to bleep that out? No, for real. That was bad. No. There were people saying he was the worst defenseman in the league compared to how much he was getting paid and all that jazz. So yeah, that was the worst trade.
Yeah. So I completely see your point, but I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, I'm gonna disagree with you.
Don't want to wake the baby up. Don't want to wake the baby up. You're dad of the year.
That's why I'm outside, buddy. I actually think it's the McCann Branson trade. And now I will say, I think these are two of the worst moves, not just in, Benning's tenure, but like possibly in the salary cap era. Like both these moves were so boneheaded. Like it makes me mad, I'm trying not to yell about it, but I'll say with the OEL Garland trade for the pick, so Gunther and the Canucks garbage, at least Garland was a good hockey player. And now I think the caveat here is what happens with Garland in Vancouver. Okay. And what does Dylan Gunther become? The McCann Branson trade, you traded McCann, not only just McCann, but a second round pick that was 33rd overall. You basically traded a low end first round pick and Jared McCann for Eric Branson. Like that trade made no sense. There was zero value coming back to the Canucks. So I still have the McCann Branson one as the worst trade of the Benning tenure.
True story, Beggsy. True story, okay? And this is also the truth, too. I don't think Eric Branson played more than 11 good games for the Vancouver Canucks. 11 solid games. No, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. And one time I was in Gastown and I walked by him. And like there was like this 2% chance that I was gonna say, yeah, like I don't know, something, I don't know, whatever, 2% chance. Obviously I didn't do it because I never say anything. But then I quickly caught myself like, yo, you cannot even say hi to this guy because of how much beep you've talked about this guy, You know what I'm saying? It would have been the most corniest / fake move ever. And come on, Kyle Bhawan, man. Come on, man. We don't roll like that, man. I hang out with Trevor Beggs, okay? You can only be groovy and genuine, okay?
Oh man, I will say quickly before we get to comment corner. So I remember writing after the Gabranson trade, I did an article for the Hockey Raiders called "Is Gabranson the next Spiza?" And I basically argued yes. Now, I love revisionist stuff, man, but in hindsight, not only was he the next Spiza, he was worse than Spiza and more expensive than Spiza.
You wrote that article the moment he got traded, or like a year after
Yeah.
he played
No,
with the
no, no.
Canucks?
Like the moment he got traded, like it was like within a day or two, I wrote that article.
Dude, Spiza is by far and away one of the scariest comparisons you can give. You can give
Yeah.
a player. And we saw all the scary things happen early, and then we saw Spiza sign a 3-year deal for what, almost $11 million. I was at the rink when that deal was announced. Anyways, where are we going with this? Locked on Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan, again, your team every day. Comment corner on the other side. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, right? We do this thing every day, including that day I somewhat enjoy the most. And that day is what? Yesterday. That's what I meant to say. Okay, yesterday. Woo! And yesterday we talked about Tyler Myers possibly getting traded to the San Jose Sharks in a rumor that made absolutely no sense at all. It kind of pissed me off that we had to waste our time talking about it. But Trevor Beggs did his research and he thought of other options. So go check out that episode wherever you stream podcasts. Let's get to Comment Corner on the other side. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, Locked on Canucks. All right. We're back. Locked on Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan, Father of the Year, risking his job so he can ensure that his son is getting a calm rest, an uninterrupted rest, okay? Is he doing that more for his son or himself? Parented is exactly. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, Locked on Canucks. Shout out to the people leaving comments, watching the show. Shout out to Canuck fans all around the world, right? We are all locked on Canucks. Comment number 1 goes to this dude, Jim Gap. What a name, Jim Gap. Jim Gap, okay? He was talking about this like proposed trade that involved Carolina, San Jose, and Vancouver, okay? So San Jose would get some picks and Niels Höglander, I believe, and Tyler Myers, I think. And Carolina would receive Erik Karlsson, and the Canucks would get Brett Pesce. And I keep saying this, man. I keep saying this. Like next year, they can't be super aggressive right now. They've done that already with the Hronek trade. They filled up some gaps. They got to take the next step before they allow themselves to give up even more assets to optimize next season. It just doesn't make sense. They got to prove it first before they can get to being a contender / competing for the Stanley Cup. They don't have to go all in right now. What are your thoughts on that trade? Or am I just being soft right now? Am I being soft? Should I always be trying to hit a grand slam? Because right now you can hear it in my voice. I'm kind of like, it's like next season matters, but it's not going to be the season that really matters.
Yeah, I think the trade had like all the Canucks garbage and a first round pick going to San Jose. I think it was like Myers, Rathbone, Höglander, and a Canucks first rounder.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Kyle. I want to disagree with you, but I just don't think it's good business to trade a first rounder away for Brett Pesce, who's going to be a UFA, who's likely going to command a raise. It just doesn't really make sense for a team like the Canucks in terms of where they're at. So, let's see how the season goes. If the Canucks are killing it, maybe there's a deal to be made mid-season before the deadline. But at this point, I don't see the point of making a trade like that.
Straight up, if they prove me wrong, and there's a lot of momentum on their side, and they didn't just take one step, they took 6. And in this thing called life, anything is possible. Anything is possible, right? And there's again a lot of momentum there. They got to swing for the fences. Then so be it. But they got to get to that point where, like, they actually see the finish line physically, not just in their minds. Let's see it in the standings. You know what I'm saying? For real. Thanks for the comment. Comment number 2 goes to Harpoon Wave. Okay, Harpoon Wave. This dude, man. I know he wasn't here early, but he's an OG. He's an OG, okay? He's invited to the wedding. Shout out to the day ones. Harpoon, good show, guys. I really do enjoy your discussions. Kyle and Trevor make a good team. Yeah, man. If you don't know how Trevor and I met again, we told the story a couple days ago. In a way, it was a romantic way to make a friend. It's just the truth. It's just the truth, man. Dude, I never even played that card with women. You get what I'm saying? Like walking across the club, hey, yo. I had to meet you. I never did that.
You should have, man. I guess life worked out for you, man. It's all good. But
Anyways, Harpoon was talking about, like Rathbone being expendable. Obviously, I don't think anyone in the Canucks organization and even like their fan base don't understand that. Like Rathbone is not forgotten, but he's a piece that could be moved. Right. It's just the truth. Höglander, like this guy seems to have given up on him. We talked about him earlier. Do you still believe in this guy? Like, again, like, don't you think he can do what a Beauvillier and a Garland can do if, he has a great summer and, I don't know, reads the right books? You get what I'm saying? Like, isn't he's important here.
I know you're all about reading the books.
Yeah.
Thanks for commenting, Harpoon. You're right. He is an OG. I still believe in Höglander. That being said, I think we need to just see better puck management from him. Like he's obviously a wizard with the puck in his own end, and he's tenacious on the forecheck. There's stuff to like about Höglander's game. But it's just the lackadaisical puck management, like in the neutral zone and in his own zone, that he's got to work on, and defensive positioning in his own zone. It's like it's the finer details of his game, which is completely teachable. But that being said, it's kind of been 2+ like parts of 2 seasons now where we've seen bad puck management from Höglander. So he's got to bring it this year. He is not waivers exempt anymore, so he's got to play on the Canucks this year, or else they got to move him. In terms of getting rid of both those guys, yeah, they're obviously expendable, but their value's also dropped. Like the Canucks should have traded Jack Rathbone last summer. I think, I had this idea. I think I wrote about it. I can't remember now. I'm always writing about crap. But I wanted to do like a Rathbone in a second for John Marino. Like John Marino went for Ty Smith in a third. So that was the Canucks version of Ty Smith in a third would have been to get John Marino. So
you should
have traded Jack one a year ago.
Canucks, man. You should be up there, man. Trevor's on fire, man. This whole episode, this guy's just firing out numbers. He could run different departments, and then he just pulls out that mock trade that I remember you talking about many times. Yeah. Many times. Next comment goes to Jag Dylan, okay? He talks about Christian Dvorak possibly being somebody the Canucks could be interested in some sort of trade with Tyler Myers, like, trading cap dump for cap dump, different change of scenery, blah, blah, blah. And then he brought up also another player that San Jose could possibly give up in a trade for Myers. I don't know how this would work, but his name is Kinchov?
I think it's Nijov.
So I think neither of us know anything about Nijov, right? This guy, right?
Yeah, I know pretty much next to nothing.
Okay, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan. Again, that was another day. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Leave us a review too on the podcast players, okay? Let us know how we doing, how the Canucks are doing. We're going to have to run some Comment Corner exclusive episodes in the near future because of scheduling. So just leave a ton of comments. Ask any type of Canuck question you want. We'll dive into the past, the future, the present, or just ask any life questions too, man. I got my own podcast network. I ut a ton of shows. I read a ton of books. My mind right now is all over the place, and you might have to lean into that again when Trevor Beggs has to put the bacon on the table, baby. Anywho, Locked On Canucks, again, your team every day. Sign us out, Trevor.
Yeah, I will say quickly too on the Christian Dvorak thing as well. I thought about him for yesterday's episode about options for trading Myers. But the reason I didn't include Dvorak is because Montreal is basically capped out right now, and they just traded Joel Edmondson. So I have a trouble seeing a world where the capped out Canadians are going to trade for Tyler Myers. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But anyways, it is time to get out of here, Kyle. Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Hope you stay a little while because we got shows coming out 5 days a week. Coming up this week, I did want to look at possible destinations for Connor Garland and one of the Canucks wingers. Like, which teams could potentially still be in the market for these guys? That's going to come up later this week. And again, we got some mailbag bag talk coming up as well. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bhawan. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.